For the past 2 days, I've been waiting patiently for the next episode of The Mandalorian, and tonight was an annoyance of epic proportions because Disney, for some reason, and I'm just kind of voicing my complaint before diving into the review, Disney doesn't tell you when the episode is going to drop. So many of us figured midnight. Midnight would be the time that it dropped, and perhaps it did, but they rolled it out to Android phones first, so the mobile app got it, right? The mobile app. You're watching $100 million budgeted Star Wars show, and the first place they dropped the second episode of the highly anticipated Mandalorian is on the damn Android. So of course, I had to wait until about 12:50 in the morning in order to be able to actually see it on the website. So I'm not very happy about that, and neither are a lot of other people, because there are people right now at about 1:30 in the morning who still cannot get the episode up on the Roku app. And so this is a problem Disney needs to fix. Other than that, oh my God, what an episode. Holy crap. So they did show the first 3 episodes of the season last night at the El Capitan for the Mandalorian premiere, and people were coming out hyping up this episode, and they were not kidding. So just so we're clear, spoilers ahead, all right? So the episode picks up very quick right after the last episode. Mando is on his way back to the ship with the baby Yoda. By now, everybody and their mother wants a baby Yoda toy, and they're kind of asking Disney to just make it because it will print money. And this episode 100% confirms that, given how adorable, and I mean adorable, that little baby is. So he gets attacked right off the bat by some Transdoshans. I think it's Transdoshans, right? The same guys Bosk is. Right, 3 of them attack Mando. Mando messes them up pretty quickly, and he realizes that they've got a tracking fob just like he and IG-11 did, which tells me that whatever the baby Yoda is, whatever the species is, whatever was going on with that, a lot of people are looking for it. So it tells me one of two things. One, there's either a competing client who is hiring other bounty hunters to go and take out this particular baby so that Werner Herzog and Dr. Pershing can't get it, because there's that whole theory about cloning, which I'll do that in a separate video. So you've got that. So then he gets back to his ship, and this is what took me completely by surprise. And what I loved about it was Jawas are on this planet, and they've got their gigantic, their huge ass vehicle with them, and they have completely just stripped the Razorcrest. And this pisses Mando off something fierce. I mean, he starts disintegrating them, and he even says that later on, that he disintegrated them, which is just another reason why people are going to be thinking that he's Boba Fett. Because that's still a working theory by a lot of people, is that he is Boba Fett, right? But he just starts disintegrating people in their Jawas, and it's like, it's great. But you do hear, at one point, you do hear one of them go, a beady, right? They make the sound. And so, of course, it's wonderful, because this is really the first time we've seen Jawas in any real capacity since 1977. And the fact that they are a main focus of this was just excellent to me, because after that, he's pissed. So he starts chasing them down, and he tries to take over their sand crawler, whatever it's called, right? So he gets to the top after like fighting his way up. And this action sequence to me felt so much like Indiana Jones. I mean, there's even like a Last Crusade moment in there, like when Indy's on the tank and the tank's gonna like go up against the rocks, and he just kind of jumps on top and whatnot. This was a lot of that too, and it felt so Indiana Jones, and it felt so Spielberg and so Lucas, and so much love was going into that sequence, and I was laughing my ass off, and I was smiling the whole time. And of course, he gets to the top, and you think he's gonna kick everyone's ass. He pulls out his blaster, and they all pull out their guns, and they trank him right off, or they stun him right off the sandcrawler, right into the ground. And then here comes Baby Yoda, just kind of like chilling in that little what's it called, bassinet, right? And of course, from there they go back to the Razorcrest. It's all sorts of messed up. So they go find it. They go find Kuil, because at this point, that's all he knows. He just knows the Ugnaught. And again, who doesn't want more of him? Who doesn't want more of the Ugnaught who says, "I have spoken"? It's become a meme in the last couple days, and people are losing their mind over how cool it is. So Kuil decides to help him out, and they go and they track down the Jawas. The Jawas are not too happy with Mandalorian. Of course, why would they be? Because, as in his own words, he disintegrated them. What I love is that They piss him off and he fires it at one of them to warn them and they all scatter. But they still want to work with them because they still want to trade. So they either want his Beskar, which he won't give up, or they want the baby Yoda. And he still won't give that up either. Especially at this point, I think he's becoming kind of attached to it. And to be fair, so is the audience, because leading up to going to them, and I forgot to mention this, leading up to going to mention them, the baby is like crawling around, right? He's crawling around and he's like chasing after frogs. And I have two children under the age of 2, and it just kind of reminds me of like my youngest, who is 3 months, and is how she kind of views the world and her interactions with it. And it just was like, again, like I said, this thing will print money. I don't know why it's not printing money at this point. I do think the toy is going to come on Black Friday, but seriously, it's insane how adorable this thing is. You've never seen anything cuter. I think who is it? Carl Weathers at the premiere last night didn't name it, but called it Little Cutie. And I think that's an apt name because it's little and it's cute as all hell. But anyway, the Jawas basically say, look, we'll trade you back everything, provided you go and you get us the egg, right? And so at that point, I thought to myself, oh, okay, this is going to be that part in the trailer when Mando fights that giant weird space rhinoceros. And that, of course, is exactly what happens. So he goes, for some reason, he takes the baby with him. I mean, I understand not wanting to leave it with the Jawas, but Kuwil could look after it, right? I mean, he's totally an honorable guy, and he would make sure nothing happened to it. But anyway, they go off together, and he tries to get this egg, ends up waking up the giant space rhino. They battle it out to the point of where Mando just gets messed up. Like, he gets real messed up, and I really like that. I like that the Mandalorian just got totally tore up. His armor gets torn and shredded. He is wounded. He is just tired. And then right as the space rhino is going to kill him, the baby does the Force. Force lifts the rhino off the ground, holds it for a few, drops it, and then Mando's able to land a killing blow, which I do feel the killing blow was a bit weak. I feel it was a bit weak. And I say that predominantly because it was one of those things where, you know, it was a short blade and jammed it right in, and you feel like it would have had thicker skin, and it just one hit and dropped it. I get it, you know what I mean? Like, I understand, but still, it's kind of like, it just felt kind of cheap. Like, the episode's short. It's only 32 minutes. So they're like, let's just get right through it. We're just going to get through it. Of course, he gets the egg, takes it back to the Jawas. I wasn't too sure what they were going to do with it. I kind of anticipated that they were going to eat it, like cook it or something. No, they chop it open like a coconut and they all drink the yolk on the inside. And I think for some reason, for me, that was a little bit odd, only because I was like, there's a baby right there. Sure, it's 50 years old, but there's a baby that's right there. And they end up getting back everything. They go back to the Razorcrest. Kuwil and Mando spend about what appears to be a day putting everything back together. Mando offers Kuwil a job. Kuwil turns him down because he says he's worked his entire life to get away from servitude and just wants peace and quiet where he's at. So, of course, he stays, and that's unfortunate because Mando and the baby leave, and that's where the episode ends. I really am bummed that Kuwil is like, I hope he's in the show more. Like, he's such a fan favorite character at this point. One episode in, and people love this guy. They're going to love me more after this episode, 100%. So fans are going to be wanting to see this. So in this episode, like I said, it's 32 minutes. It's actually like 7 minutes shorter than the last episode, which is interesting because it still kind of flies at a bit of a breakneck pace, but there's also minimal dialogue, so it's a lot more story. And the story that they convey through the minimal dialogue, I think, really works for it. As we get more human characters, like as they meet Cara Dune, and we get more Grief Karga, and obviously more with the client, Dr. Pershing, and when Giancarlo Esposito shows up, there's going to be a lot more of that exposition-based dialogue. But for right now, it's just Mandalorian, you know, and it's him, and even Kuwil calls him Mando, which is great. I love that. Calls him that. So it's like we've already kind of established the nickname that all the diehard fans, and believe me, at this point, there are supreme diehard fans of the show. We all have a name. We already knew it anyway, but we got it for certain. I don't know if I could love a show more than I love The Mandalorian right now. It is everything I've wanted, and it just, like, this episode, I feel like it could go right up to the last episode. You just watch it, you know. And this is going to be kind of a continuous movie. It feels like it, but it's still kind of structured like a show, even though the length of the episode does feel weird. I would like to say though, for one, the visual effects were great. The rhino looked really good until it was being lifted up in the air, and then it kind of looked a little hokey at that point. You know, it's made for TV sort of thing. But of course, you know, the Yoda puppet is a practical puppet. It looks amazing. It looks so adorable. Looks cute, and the soundtrack. The soundtrack is great. The soundtrack is dope, man. I love the soundtrack to the show. It was I actually found it online before the episode aired, and I was listening to the soundtrack. Keep in mind, I watched the first episode 3 times in the first 24 hours, and I'm going to watch it again tomorrow and watch this episode back to back over breakfast with my kids. So this is definitely the show to watch. This is a show to talk about. I want to hear your thoughts, your theories. What do you think is going to happen next week? I'm going to definitely be making a chapter 3 theories video on this one, because at this point now I am sold on this show. I am so happy to be a Star Wars fan because I got this and I got Fallen Order on my PS4, and today's a good day. Today's our life day. Right? Today is Star Wars fans life day. I want to know if you agree with me on this one. If you guys made it this far, do me a solid, type life day into the chat. Be sure to also hit a thumbs up, subscribe, smack the hell out of that notification button. And if you want to see more content like my breakdown of this episode shot for shot, as well as my breakdown of the last week's episode, then you can do so right about now. They're going to pop up on the screen, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you again for watching. Have yourself a fantastic day. May the Force be with you, and long live the Mandalorian. Goodbye.